Part 2. The call that wasn't a call. The first sign wasn't a phone call. It never was. When the message came, it arrived the way it always did, quietly, buried inside something ordinary. An email that looked like a routine update. A calendar notice that could have meant anything to anyone else. To him, it meant only one thing. He didn't react right away. He finished what he was doing. Closed his laptop. Locked his office door. Drove home the same way he always did. That discipline had been drilled into him long before civilian life. Never rush. Never draw attention. Never let urgency show. At home, nothing was different. Dinner was loud. Homework spilled across the table. A show played in the background that no one was really watching. His wife talked about her day. He listened carefully, storing details the way he always did. Later that night, when the house was quiet, he opened the laptop again. The message was brief. No names. No locations. No explanations. Just a window of time and a phrase that hadn't been used in years. Domestic containment. That phrase meant the thread was already inside. He didn't tell his wife where he was going. He never did. "I'll be gone a couple days," he said. "Work trip," she nodded. She always did. Not because she didn't care, but because she trusted him enough not to press where answers would only create distance. He packed light. Always light. No weapons. No uniforms. Nothing that didn't belong in a carry-on. Everything else would be waiting. The place he arrived looked like a dozen others he'd been to before. Neutral. Unmarked. Forgettable by design. Inside, the room was sparse. A table. A screen. Two other men he hadn't seen in years, older now, quieter. No introductions were needed. Their presence told him everything. They weren't being activated. They were being contained. Something had slipped past the usual safeguards. Someone who understood systems. Someone patient enough to blend in, just like he had. That made this different. That made it personal. The briefing was short. There had been test runs. Dry movements. Quiet probing. Someone was mapping vulnerabilities, not to strike loudly, but to stay invisible as long as possible. The goal wasn't chaos. It was access. And once access was achieved, the damage wouldn't look like violence at all. It would look like accidents. Delays. Failures no one could trace. He didn't feel fear. He felt responsibility settle back into place, heavy and familiar. This wasn't about stopping something dramatic. It was about preventing something boring enough that no one would ever suspect intent. And that was always the most dangerous kind. When the meeting ended, there were no goodbyes. Just a shared understanding. He would handle one thread. Someone else would handle another. No overlap. No chatter. The fewer connections, the fewer traces. Back home, his family slept. He stood in the doorway of his children's rooms a moment longer than usual. Not because he thought he wouldn't come back, but because he knew how easily, normal, could be disrupted if this failed. He closed the door quietly. Tomorrow, he would disappear again. And this time, the margin for error would be much smaller. To be continued, Part 3.